How to do it?
Hello.
Want me to start it?
We have started. We have started, Gary. We're all... Hello and good evening to the Thursday Night Forum on the Arsenal Fan Circle with myself, Stan the Man. I'm the host this evening. Ray is still away on a much-deserved family holiday down at the beach. So he's giving me the keys to the cabin to take this flight through. And joining me, two faces, which everybody knows. Gary, don't waste the tweet or don't waste the trip, whatever you want to say there, to my right or left, depending on how you're looking at it. And below, Alonso Spencer. So, just to get into it straight away, I thought we'd have a quick look back at the Brentford game and just basically gloss over with a broad stroke because we're going to be looking at some players in a little bit more detail. But just to caveat this was a game that I didn't actually get an opportunity to see live. So I've only seen like extended highlights of this one. But by all accounts and by, catching up during the week and listening to various reports and from what little I've seen, it sounds to me, lads, like this was a game from kickoff to last whistle that we were in control of from start to finish. And everybody on the team, from what I can gather, seems to have come out with flying colours. So just start off with Gary, if you just want to give us a overview of that game against Brentford.
Yep. Hello, everybody in the chat. I see Ray was in there earlier. Big Gunner. Welcome, Steve Denham. Welcome to the show. Yeah, that was what I would say is a very clean, complete game. Like you said, 90 minutes of just if you could script out how you want the game to go, and if you do this, you will win the match. That's exactly what we did. Brentford got nothing, and they tried, but they got nothing. I mean, we quieted Tony. Tony was coming in on a big, on a high almost, right? He just got picked up by the England squad, so he's going to he's going to go and practice with them.
Yeah.
Or right now, I guess he's doing that right now. So he got the call up, and it didn't really help because we shut everything down. They got nothing. Like I said, very clean match. Like you said, everybody. I don't think there's anybody you can complain about. The only thing we can complain about is players that probably weren't there because they were injured or whatever. That's the only thing that was negative. If there's anything, but in general, the match itself, we played it as perfect and as clean as we were. If that's Arteta ball, I want that.
Going into this one, did you have any fears at all? Because I looked at this one I was trying to use like a logical look at it rather than just going with my heart and never going against Arsenal. But I thought we were going to come out of this one with a draw. Yeah. That's what I honestly thought. So to surpass that for me, to surpass my expectations, I was very pleased. But how was you going into the game, especially looking at the big hoopla that was made around our first game of the season just closed when we got done by them?
Yeah, I think going into this match, I was a little concerned because we had too much time off, but then hopefully Arteta has learned, and based on what we saw, he got what he wanted out of his squad. I assumed we were going to win. I figured it would be tough, but I figured we'd win. Especially, I see us, as most people do, as a top four team. We can compete for the top four with the squad that we have right now. We don't have the depth we want, but with the squad we have right now, we can beat most teams, and Brentford is one of those teams. So I think, one of the things we also had to do is make sure everybody realized that the game at Old Trafford was a blip and not necessarily how we play football. And I think we came out, and that's exactly what we did. So I thought too much time off might be a hindrance, but also it was a time for us to get ready to play this match. And it looked everything that I thought, if I said, all right, it's going to be perfect, that's what it actually went that way. So yeah, no, I think I expected us to win. I just thought it would be maybe 2-1, 3-1 match. They would get a goal, but they barely got a sniff. They
What
barely got a
about
sniff.
yourself? What about yourself, Alonso, going into this one? Was you nervous in any way, or or did it pan out exactly how you thought you would play?
I was just saying, I kind of got nervous because it was an away game. Coming off a loss, and typically the older Arsenal would just crumble and just have a string of losses because we didn't have that kind of that talking to from Arteta, where in the past, like I said, we'd go on the string of losses because we lost one big game, and then we falter. But I think that fair play to everyone on the team for looking at it like, Brentford beat us pretty bad last year,
Hmm.
and it was an away game, so we had a lot to prove. Arsenal did, to see if they could come back from losing the way they did at United. And the thought of Ivan Toney scoring against Arsenal was also a thought, because he's been playing very good football lately. And like Gary had said, he got called up to the England squad, so I think he had something to prove to score against Arsenal because there are top of the league right now. And yeah, I mean, like Gary said, the team came out to play. They knew their objective. They didn't want to get further down They didn't want to lose the first place spot. I think that was important. I think they came out and played very sharp defensively as well. I think they had one shot on goal the whole game, and it was saved by Ramsdale, which was a good save, by the way. Um, so yeah, I think that this game was kind of a statement game that they could win on the road at their loss. So I think they proved a lot to me, at least, in that game.
Yeah, I mean, a very good game overall. Another 3 points in the bag. Just looking at the league table now, 6 wins out of our first 7 games. And I know there's a lot of hoopla and a lot of people now, and pundits are kind of they're trying to edge their bets now by kind of like out of the side of their mouth saying that we could be title contenders. Personally, I'm not falling for it. There's still, another 30 odd games to go in this competition. But I think we're doing everything that we can at the moment. We're taking care of business. I just want to look at some of the players now, and a little thing I'm calling player spotlight. And there's a few players that I've picked out, and we can maybe look at their performances in the last game and, where we think that they're going to be for this season. And the first one that I wanted to look at was a player that made his first debut now for us. He came on and made a cameo against, I think it was Zurich, right? He made a small cameo and he took a shot there as well, which he didn't quite get on target. Made his full debut against Brentford. The man Fabio Vieira, who has been rechristened around these parts as Theodore Bagwell, aka Teabag. So, what did you think of his? I'll go to Gary first. What did you think of what you saw of old Teabag? I mean, I didn't get to see the whole game. I mean, taking his fantastic goal notwithstanding, what did you think about his overall performance?
Yeah, like you said, going into this match and based on what we saw the first time he came in and he just took 2 shots in like 15 minutes, I expected to see him kind of do the same thing. And, he got the whole game, and there was I guess he didn't have any concerns of anybody getting pulled out because Erdegaard was going to be out. So I was looking forward to see why we spent all this money on him, looking to see what most people said. You know what? This is a good attacking player.
Gary, do you think that's a lot of money though? I mean, you look at some of the prices. It seems to me that the average fee these days seems to be around about 50 million.
Yeah.
Like 50 million. It was yesterday's 30 million. So, looking at what we paid for Odegaard as well, do you think we've paid a lot of money for him?
If based on the way that people thought he was going to be used, yes. Because for the amount of money I believe we spent on him, I would expect him to either competing for a starting position, getting a lot of minutes, not necessarily coming off the bench just to give people breaks at the end of matches. And like I said, he had a lot. His CV had a lot of good things on it. Not only can he play the 9, but he can play wing if he needs to. So of course, the 8 is probably where he will play because of the way we structure right now. But I think I wanted to see it. And like I said, the one thing he did was he came in looking to shoot. And one thing we can say about Erdegaard is he doesn't necessarily look to shoot as much. And he's starting to now, but that his, like I said, his first 15 minutes with Arsenal, 2 shots, and we've been missing somebody who's just ready to take shots, and we saw that right in the game. He took his shot, he got the chance, he took the shot. Those are things I've been looking for Erdegaard to do as well, because I know he can take shots. He's got a good foot on him. He can take good shots from distance, but he doesn't. So that's what I wanted to see from that position, and he definitely brought it and showed us.
I think it's good as well because if you've got somebody like that who plays in the same position as Odegaard is going to see, he's going to see these things, and subconsciously be saying to himself, if I want to keep my place, there are other strings to my bow that I need to use more often, and perhaps taking shots instead of looking for another cute pass might help him. What was your thoughts on the appearance of Teabag Alonso? I mean, the goal I saw. I mean, the goal was fantastic.
Really well.
To see players taking these shots from outside of the area, and it's good to see. What's your thoughts?
I mean, I think that the guy has talent. Obviously, I think that it was a smart buy because he won at Porto, and we needed winners at Arsenal to hopefully guide the rest of the team to win. And I think whenever you have a player like a good team already surrounded, youngsters like Gabriel Saka, Martinelli, as well as Jesus or wherever pushing Odegaard, we better. I think that he's in the right place. I think he's in the right team to do that. I think that he knows that he's running for death. But if I were him, I'd take advantage of every opportunity I could to start, and he's done that. And he's got a lot of confidence to take shots like that, and he put it in the net really cleanly, and he played very well. His first full game at Arsenal, so I just want him to succeed, and make a difference, and rather maybe off the bench or starting, or maybe starting more in European games, because we're going to need that talent on the pitch whenever he gets on. So yeah, fair play to him, and I hope he gets more streams of games.
It feels more like a happy accident again. Mikel Arteta keeps having these, because I think if Odegaard was fit, he would have definitely started, and maybe Vieira comes on for a bit part again. And I think it's probably forced Mikel Arteta's hand, having a slight knock to Odegaard, having to play him from the opener. And maybe it's shown Mikel Arteta that there's more to Vieira than just being cover or copyright infringement or just being a bit part player, because now he's getting an opportunity to start, and where he probably wouldn't have. I think Gary's going to go is away for a bit now. I think he's dropping off, going to pick up his daughter. So what do you think about Fabio? What do you think about Fabio Vieira moving forward? I mean, there's a lot of people, Alonso, that was saying that he needs to be bulked up, but I mean, I look back at Santi Cazorla, who was quite a slight chap, and he had a very low center of gravity, and he seemed to fare quite well.
Yeah, and I think that eventually will come. I mean, look at Martinelli, look at Walcott. They are bulked up a little bit over time. But I think that, he's kind of shown that he is fragile at times during the few games that we've seen him in. And, he'll get fouls, but it's just getting integrated into a new league as well. Because there's a far step up above from what the Portuguese league is, and then what the Premier League is. So, you got to look at that as well. But he's done well for himself. Obviously, the time he's been at Arsenal, the games he started and the games he's come off the bench. I'm hoping that, this is a good rotation for Arteta, and it makes some tough decisions to come up about in the next coming month or so. And it's a shame that he didn't get picked for the Portuguese team, because I think that in the future it could be useful for them as well.
Yeah, they seem to have quite a few players that can play in that position. But I mean, I think if if he continues to show the quality that he has in his first game, I don't think it will be long before he's going to be knocking on the door to get into the international team. So the next player that I want to take a look at, and it's the player that everybody seems to be talking about at the moment. He's the man of the moment. It's Granit Xhaka. Some are saying that he's having a renaissance. He's being reborn. And, you know, it's been widely documented on this on this podcast and many others that I have been very vocal about his time at Arsenal. He's coming up for now for, I think it's his 7th season with us, and he has a very checkered history. We all know about what happened at the Crystal Palace game, which was probably one of his biggest moments and was one of the biggest reasons that made him have such a split in the fan base. But he's going through some sort of a renaissance at the moment, and he's proven himself to be very useful in the team, both on the pitch and off the pitch. I mean, it's quite obvious that even though Martin Odegaard is the captain and wears the armband, it's quite obvious to me that, you know, Granit Xhaka is a man that has a lot of weight. Hold on a minute, just change this over. Granit Xhaka is a man that carries a lot of weight in the team. You only have to see just before kickoff, you know, or when they're having sort of like talks at the sidelines, that Granit Xhaka is the one that's very, very vocal. I just wanted to ask you, first of all, I mean, where are you now on Granit Xhaka these days? I mean, you can maybe tell us a little bit about where you were, where you are now, if it's changed. What's your thoughts on Granit at the moment?
Right. So, to me, Stan, whenever he did that stunt at Crystal Palace, I was disappointed.
Let's start right there. Let's go back to that incident.
Right.
This incident, because I've listened to a lot of podcasting, and even quite recently, he's coming back up on podcasts and people are talking about the Crystal Palace thing. And I've listened to people tell their version of what happened on that night. And some of the versions I hear are very, very different to the version that I remember. So this is how it went down for me. I was here in Vancouver, and it was one of those occasions where it was at the time, it was obviously well before the lockdown. We were going up the pub to watch the football. And I remember it well because me and my pal, Gooner Mike, it was one of those ones where we took the ladies with us as well to the pub, took the ladies out for some ladies' drinks, some baby shams and a chicken in the basket, keep them quiet. So we were all sat there at the pub. I remember it very well. And as I remember, a time in Emery's tenure as Arsenal manager where it wasn't going so well. It hadn't been going well, but there was, he was very divided in the fan base. It wasn't going very well. And obviously up until that point as well, there was a lot of talk about Granit Xhaka, whether he still merited a place in the team because of a lot of his transgressions. And how I remember it was that when the substitute was made, I'm sat in the pub and it was really busy, and the substitute and they were substituted. It was more about Unai Emery making a decision, making some kind of a decision. It was like hey, like he's doing something. And then, watching the TV, you saw the reaction from Xhaka. He was giving it the old Hulk Hogan's cup in the year. Do you know what I mean? And then the armband and that. And that's when people were like, sort of their attitude sort of changed from Unai Emery to Granit Xhaka. And then there was the reciprocation of him, saying what he said. So that's how I remember it. Definitely in the environment I was in, the original jeering wasn't aimed at Granit Xhaka. It was more aimed at the manager making a decision because he'd been criticised for so long for not being devoid of this. We're looking for another player to come on and give us something. So that evening in the camp, and obviously, people talk about, well, should any player put up with, and I just want to put it out there that I think that those people that take their opinions to those lengths where you've got track the person down to their place of residence and put stuff with their letterbox, or the sort of threats that you see on the social media. There's no place for that at all. If you want to talk to your mates down the pub or online and say, I didn't like such and such players, their performance today, I thought they were a bit shit today, they were off it. There's nothing wrong in that. There's nothing wrong in criticizing what you see in a football match and talking amongst yourselves. There's no need to at the player and bring them into that conversation, though. You know what I'm getting at? That doesn't do nothing. That doesn't prove anything. So I just want to put that out there. So let's start with that Crystal Palace thing. I mean, what was your view on that?
So I remember it because it was raining out. It was raining outside. It was pouring rain at Emirates. No, it was pouring rain at Crystal Palace. Right, Stan?
Yeah.
It was at Crystal Palace or at Emirates?
Yeah, go on. So I'm just sending a link out. I think it was at Crystal Palace.
Okay, because they're wearing the yellow jerseys, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then because our supporters were booing Granit Xhaka, but to me, Unai Emery didn't make the right decision before that because he was already having a bad game. So to me, I think Emery did it a little bit too late for him to come off, and that's when the frustration boiled because he let them out way too long. And in that moment, he got booed. It was partially because of Unai Emery because he let them out way too long. He was having a bad game. And before that, he was having a bad season before that as well. He was having a tough year that year.
I suppose it's very easy to see how the player could think that. I mean, I don't know about those in the ground, but I mean, obviously, if he could hear through the televisions in the pub that I was in, I suppose it'd be very easy for him to think that it was being directed at him.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because he's the talk of the town. There's been some transgressions. He knows that there's people saying a few things about him on social media. So I get it. If I was in his shoes, I would probably have thought that it was directed at me, and I may have reacted in the same way as well. If I'd felt that, we've all got different temperaments. Some people would have just probably shrugged their shoulders and walked off the pitch. I may have probably reacted in the same way as Granit Xhaka and fired a few fucks out there myself, So I'm not necessarily blaming him for that either. So moving on from that, let's look at where he is now. I mean, he's heading into his 7th season, right? And he's playing in a very different position to where he's usually been deployed because he's had quite a few managers since he's been at Arsenal, right? There's been Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery. There's even Freddie Ljungberg was in there for a little bit. Yeah, Steve Bold has had some coaching there, and now he's onto Mikel Arteta. So why is it that none of those other managers who have got more experience at the game than Mikel Arteta, why did none of them try to unlock Granit Xhaka in the same way as Mikel Arteta has in your eyes? Was it because we had maybe better players of quality for those positions and he couldn't fit in there?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think?
I think this is probably the most far out theory I have. I think Arteta saw some tape of him playing for Switzerland and saw how successful he was in Switzerland, at least being kind of the number 10 role there. And he's kind of, I guess, practiced or at least had Granit Xhaka look at that tape and just saw how he could integrate that into the Arsenal team with better talent, in my opinion. And
but I'm sure Arsene Wenger and Unai Emery must have had a cheeky gander at and seen him playing in and you know what I mean? They must be aware of what he plays at international level. I just find it very odd that is it a case that this player has been playing out of position for so long, and that position's not where he's performing at its best and caused a lot of these transgressions because he's playing in he's playing in a more advanced position in a kind of a left 8 area. He seems more of a goal threat than he's ever been. He's hitting the post. He's putting it in the back of the net. You know, he's heading just wide. You know, if he keeps getting into those positions, maybe there's going to be more goals. But I'm kind of the opinion that I try not to be too sentimental with players, and I try to look at them as a unit of production, almost like a robot, and what their output is. And I seem to think that if it's about upgrading the team, I mean, we upgraded on the right back position. I use that as an example. We've upgraded on Hector Bellerin. Hector Bellerin was a mainstay in that position. I do think that, is it wrong of me to think that we can't upgrade on Xhaka? As well as he might be playing now, is there not another player out there that could maybe, you know, when he does get into those scoring positions that Xhaka's been getting into, is there another player out there that wouldn't hit the post as often and wouldn't head it wide, and they would count for goals? And what do goals mean? Prizes. You know, I'm just using that as to be devil's advocate. I mean, is it wrong of me to think that we, you know, all because he's reached a newer level here, that we can't go above that?
Yeah, I mean, and you know, I think most supporters would want him as a depth player because he has something in him. And I think that, you know, we talk about, you know, leaders on the squad, and the players favor him to be a captain or at least a leader. So I think that you can't really replace leadership like the ones you have now on the squad. To where I'd rather have a Granit Xhaka than a Aubameyang or Lacazette, because those guys do not lead by example, and that's what I think Granit Xhaka does. But as far as on the pitch, sure, we could upgrade on Granit Xhaka, but how would you replace leadership? Because apparently he's well liked in the locker room. He's well liked off the pitch as well. So, you know, there's a different standard there, Stan. Because I think that if you know, football players are also human beings as well. They have feelings as well.
Oh yeah,
and they also have to have second chances to impress, right? And you know, either you get a second chance or you don't. And Granit Xhaka clearly made his amends, in my opinion.
let me ask you this question, right? And I want to ask everybody in the chat box this question as well, right? If Granit Xhaka was in the Man City team, would he be the first pick for the position that he's currently playing in? Would he be the backup, or would he be the backup for that position, or would he be in the El Neni, i.e., would he be the third string, if that makes any sense, in the midfield? Where do you think Granit Xhaka would be if he was in Man City squad?
I think he'd be a backup.
You think he'd be the backup for that spot? Okay.
I think because, like I said, Stan, I mean, there's a player in Granit Xhaka. Unfortunately, it's taking this long to figure it out. But he's playing to his.
How can that? I find it difficult to accept, right, that it's taken this long to figure it out. And my worry is that let's say in 2 matches' time, he gets sent off. Okay, whether it's a straight red or 2 yellows, is it going to have enough in the bank whereby the all right, Gary? Is it going to, we're just talking about Granit Xhaka, is it going to be, and I'll just repeat this bit, Gary, in case you've just missed it. We were talking about Granit Xhaka, about where he's been, and we touched on the night at Crystal Palace because I wanted to get Alonso's take on it, but we're now talking about where he is. And let me ask you this question, right, Gary, that I just asked a minute ago. If, hold on a minute, what's going on here? He's trouble.
Mr. Oh my God.
Did I just find my way onto Leeds? Is it Leeds fan circle?
You have.
Sorry, what?
So listen, thanks for coming.
I see him twice a week now. It's 3.
You're seeing him more time. You've seen him more time than your missus. So listen, here's a question for everybody, right? Gary and Mr. Tom have just joined us. If Granit Xhaka was part of the Manchester City squad, in the position, the role that he's playing at now, and granted, the role that he's playing in now, he seems to be having more success there. Would he be the first pick for that position in Manchester City's team, or would he be the backup, or would he be like the El Neni, i.e. the backup to the backup and perhaps fighting the backup? Mr. Tom?
Out of a yes and no, I would say no. If it was literally yes or no. But I don't think that's a reflection on him based on his performances. That's more based on how strong they actually are overall.
So then is it wrong to think then that even though, just to carry on with that, Mr. Tom, that he's playing well at the moment in that position, is it wrong to think that, well, we can still upgrade? Do you see what I'm getting at? To get into that position where, if you're saying that he wouldn't be
an unfair comment, no.
If he's not going to be the number one at City, then we should be striving to make sure then that we have somebody of equal parity, right, for that position.
That is true, but then you're going to have to be prepared to make the financial commitment to make that the case. Otherwise, that player would just play for Man City.
Gary?
Yeah, no, it's becoming a tough one now because we've been asking for this version of Xhaka, and it's taken a manager to put him in a position where he has.
Why do you think
defensive.
that is, Gary? Gary, why do you think it is right that Arsene Wenger, Unai Emery, to a certain extent, Freddie Ljungberg and Steve Bold, who have got a lot more managerial nous than Mikel Arteta, why is it that it was never tried under them? Was it because we had too many players that were a better quality for that position and he couldn't fit in, or they were too inept to see it? Or is it that Mikel Arteta really is a football genius and it just came to him one night in a dream and it was said and now it shall be so?
Since I've been seriously following Arsenal over the last 10 years, the one thing I think we've all been saying is we miss Vieira. We miss somebody who can control the midfield, like somebody like him. That's what I've heard, for like the last 10 years. He might be a leader in the locker room, and I think that's what, the past managers have used that as a reason to keep him on the pitch. But they put him out of position, and we've seen it. I mean, he's still, to some degree, leading the squad right now, but he doesn't have the responsibilities he did before on the pitch in terms of where he sits. So I think, because I look, when you just talked about maybe if he went to United and stuff like that, to some degree, he's not exactly like, but he's probably our version of Henderson, right? From Liverpool, in the sense that, he's not the best player on the pitch, but he kind of leads the squad to some degree, and everybody, they have everybody, backs him in that respect, right? Everywhere he goes, he's considered a leader, and that's what we've been missing. I mean, if he went to United, they would, to some degree, they would probably wouldn't use City. Oh, if he went to City, you said if he went to City,
yeah.
If he went to City, oh no.
Would he be the backup for that spot, or would he be the backup to the backup?
Wow.
Because I honestly think that he would be, he wouldn't be the first pick for that spot, and I think that he would probably have competition to be backup. Does that make sense? He wouldn't be the de facto guy. I think he'd have competition, and I'm using that as a barometer, as a gauge to where I think Arsenal were trying to get to. Yeah. I'm not using it as a stick to beat up Granit Xhaka with. Yeah. I'm just trying to measure ourselves against who are the de facto best team in our league, right? And we want to, in order to win the league, we've got to beat them.
Yeah.
So why should we be comfortable with someone who would maybe be fighting to be the backup? Do you know what I'm getting at? That's what I'm saying.
It's probably the squeaky wheel gets the oil kind of thing, if you know what that means.
Yeah.
He's not our biggest problem.
He needs some WD-40.
Yeah, he does, but he's not our biggest problem, in the sense that where we've moved him to now, he's doing a good job. Can we do better? Yes, but it's not the biggest problem we have, right? We're a big problem in depth, more than we do him starting for us right now. right?
But
We
what about
know
the
Partey-
argument, though, right?
Yeah.
Because he's moved forward, right? And he's
Mhm.
getting in a lot more dangerous positions. He's already added a goal and he's hit the post. You know, he's heading wide. Is there an argument that we could perhaps have someone in that position who does exactly the same thing, gets in those positions that he's finding himself in, but is able to get the ball in the back of the onion bag more frequently?
I think if you had to, right?
Or is
you
it going to
could-
come?
No, we have Fabio Vieira. Fabio Vieira and Erdogan playing in front of Partey is that answer right now without just seeing a little bit of what we've seen from him. Because I know Fabio Vieira would be just as good, if not better, than what we've got from Xhaka in terms of what he does for us today. So if
But
Vieira
Xhaka's operating more box to box, isn't he? He's getting back. He's still doing some stuff in the defense. He's tidying.
I guess I'm not noticing that as much, and maybe I have to go back and look at the tape, but I'm not noticing him coming back and being more defensive minded and helping us out that way. So that's
These
maybe it's on
questions
me.
are easier. These questions are harder to answer because you're doing well.
Yeah. Right, mate.
Generally speaking.
Okay. So, as an outsider looking in, I mean, Mr. Tom, Granit Xhaka is a really divisive character. I mean, you know, I've even seen that, but he wore the captain's armband again quite recently, and a lot of people were, you know, arguing about that. And my thing is with that is, it's not that he's not captain material. He is, but we've seen that he has a temperament that if he can't keep his cool to the maximum. He has a certain threshold and then he'll cross it. And when he crosses it, he'll do things like tell us to fuck off and throw the armband down. And I'm not saying that's wrong.
Let me ask you a question that you haven't asked, but you are indirectly asking.
Go on.
Leeds would have kicked him out.
I was going to get to that about Leeds.
We would not stand for that. It just, don't get me wrong. We're with respect, we're a smaller club. I feel we're a massive club, but realistically, we're more militant in the sense where we may not have financial power, but we have enough power to make it so that player would not be welcome, and it would be made clear. And I don't just mean like for a week after the game, a month after the game. He would never recover from that, what he did to you, if he did that to us.
And I'm very surprised that he got back from that. I am. You know, I watched all that play out, and I'm very surprised that he made his way back from that. However, I think the club were quite instrumental in making sure that he had a pathway back. You know, those that, you know, because they're the paymasters at the end of the day. So,
but Stan, he didn't come back to the club overnight. He sat on the bench for quite a while. I think it was like 2 months. I think. No, it was because then COVID happened. Then he came back during the pandemic. I think it was. So he didn't come back on the team right away. He was disciplined and didn't play on the team because he was told not to.
So where are you with him now, Alonso? You know, I mean, he's got this new lease of life. You know, it's only taken almost 7 fucking seasons to find it. For me, I'm really happy with, and I will give him at the end of each match. You know, I will kind of like give him praise individually for each match. And so far, he's been doing very, very well. But overall, I think we should be able to upgrade on him. I think that we should be able to find a player that's able to give us what he's giving us, but more, a little bit more. You know, I understand that he's got these leadership qualities, but we've invested that into Martin Odegaard now. You know, Martin Odegaard is supposed to be that person. I'm not saying that one person does it on their own, but, you know, as long may it continue. But as I was alluding to just before Gary came on, my worry is that when the next thing happens, and I'm sure that it will, And the reason I say that it will is because the players told us, right, many times, this is just the way that I am. This is how I play. I'm not changing my game. There's never been any remorse or any kind of hints of reflection on Granit Xhaka's part for the cards, the what have you, all the stuff that's gone before. That tells me that there's going to be another card. And I just worry that when it happens, has he got enough in the bank now for people to look at the error with clear eyes and judge it for what it is? Or is it just going to be like, I fucking told you, I've been waiting for this to happen. We're back to where we started and all the goodwill has gone again. And we start back at the beginning of the cycle. Because what I don't want to have is a player that's always in this kind of a cycle where it's like, oh, it's good. And then it's like, oh, here we are. And then there's all the discourse. And you got all of the people doing their polls online. Should he be gone? Should he be staying? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, we're trying to play good football at the moment. And we are playing good football at the moment. And I don't want any more distractions. And I don't care if it's a player. If it's Granit Xhaka and is going to be a distraction, I could do without that noise. But I'll give credit where credit is due. As I said, he's playing very well at the moment. So, I mean, I don't know where we go from here with Granit. I think we just take it game by game.
Yeah, and that is how we should approach it. But back to your asking, I think, I think that he's paid his dues as far as, earning the fans' respect. And I think when he does well, the fans respond in a positive way. And that's all you can ask, really. Like you said, Stan, I think I'm on a game-by-game basis with Granit Xhaka. I think that red card is coming, and I don't know when. I just hope that it's not against Spurs or, Liverpool. I just hope that if it does happen, it happens at a time that a player's getting bullied and he stands up for a player and does it in a way that is not beneficial to the other team, meaning he gets carded. There have been times this year that he's been in a mess of pushing and shoving, but he hasn't really done anything that extreme like he's done in the past. So maybe he has learned to just step away and let somebody else handle it, maybe Odegaard. So in that sense, he's calmed down, I think, from his previous endeavors, so to speak. But I think that he's kind of leaned back from that, knowing his responsibility now is not to get carded. Though he did get carded the last weekend for something stupid. But anyway, go play it by ear, as you say, Stan.
I got to say though as well that cross, that lofted ball into the box for Jesus' goal was fucking gravy, mate. Telling you, gravy. And I've said it. I've been a big critic of Granit Xhaka, but the way that he's playing at the moment, some of the stuff that he's doing, there's been times where like people keep saying about he's not very mobile, and he's always looked like a fucking transit van with a turning circle of a transit van, right? But there's been times where there's been danger in our penalty box and the ball's been wriggled out, and it's fucking Granit Xhaka. He's back there and he's doing stuff, and then he's up there at the other end doing stuff and getting involved. But that cross into the box was sweet as a nut. Sweet as a nut. Let me ask you, Mr. Tom, taking the what you said earlier about, if he'd done that in the Leeds shirt, there'd be no way back. If he was offered to you now as a player, and you woke up tomorrow morning and it said Leeds on the verge of signing Granit Xhaka, how would you feel about that?
My instinct would be I'm not too keen on it. However, it would be that'd be an instinctual reaction. More thinking about it, I'd be like, yeah, he's probably a player that would be useful for my team because he's an experienced head, and we're quite a young side, quite frankly. So I don't think he would harm us. The more I thought about it, I don't think he would harm us as a team. But the thing that does concern me is how he behaves when things ain't going well, and they're not going to go well for us as much as they're expected to go well at Arsenal. And a lot of his issues at Arsenal come through his behaviour and the behaviour towards him when things aren't going so swimmingly, right?
Yeah. Gary,
so
anything?
He's throwing himself into that fire.
Long dramatic pause, Mr. Tom. Sorry about that. I thought you'd finished there.
That's fine.
Gary,
Yeah.
before we move on, anything
I
you
heard-
want to say about Granit Xhaka?
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot. The stupid dog's been distracting me, but
Oh, it's like your dog. Sorry, I thought you had Tony there with you.
you guys got Tony on the mind. No, but Xhaka, like many have said, that what we've seen pretty much over the last, some would say year and a bit now, isn't the Xhaka that Mr. Tom's talking about, flicking off the fans and throwing his jersey down and all of that stuff. Now, I don't know if that's just somebody who realizes, seriously realizes that, you know what, you can't. Your time is limited here, and is doing the right thing.
Do you have a problem, Gary, when you see him wearing the captain's armband?
Yep.
Do you have a problem with it?
Yep. Yeah, I do. I don't like it, but I understand why they do it, because they don't have a leader like him. And until they let Jesus, like for me, Jesus,
it's really the Illuminati, isn't it? Everyone thinks fucking Odegaard's the president running the country, but it's really
the man is,
the New World Order.
He's a puppet master right now. I mean, but you know
Charles
what?
Schwab.
But he goes out. Odegaard could take over if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. You see Xhaka just go in there, and between him and Jesus will him and Jesus will fight for the leadership, leading the squad, right? But Xhaka's been there before. Odegaard doesn't want that. He doesn't want that job, and that's what we want. The guy who wants the job, and Xhaka wants it now. Hey, Jesus is showing, and he's actually demonstrating that he could be a leader for the squad. But if he was maybe 2 years older, he probably could have gotten an armband, being like second in command, basically. But he's still young, so I guess they said, we'll hold back. I think Xhaka is, as I've said, he's doing kind of the things that we've seen. The way he's been playing, it's like he's got the Swiss shirt on, and I've been asking for that, and so we're getting it. I think, can we do better than him? Yes, in terms of football, but in terms of a team player, leader, I don't think we have that right now. Well, or we don't have somebody who's taking the reins and is doing that job.
But I thought Keenan Tierney was supposed to be the chosen one.
You know what? I thought he would take that. I thought he would take it when he had a chance, and he didn't. So I think that's the thing. You don't really need the armband, as Xhaka has shown us. You just need to go out there and do the job of a leader. And Tierney's not doing it. So, I'm a little disappointed in that fact, because I know he's been a leader before, like a captain before, and we needed that leadership. We've been asking for it, right? We said, if we can get the Tierney that goes out there and plays in a T-shirt just like he's playing a game, and he can give that same kind of spirit to, the squad, that's what we want. But he didn't do that, right? Because basically, if he was leading, I have no doubt everybody be playing a game as if they were playing, meaning they probably wouldn't have on these long tights and long sleeve shirts and all that kind of stuff. That's not how, because a lot of them don't play that way. And I always say, you practice the way you play, or you play the way you practice. So, that's what I missed. He didn't want it. He didn't want it, but Xhaka wants it, and nobody's taking it from him. Even the guy with the armband isn't taking it from him. And Arteta, I think, is happy with that, because he's got somebody. That's Arteta. Arteta looks in the mirror and he sees Xhaka, all right? Midfielder, probably not the best talent on the pitch, but got the leadership skills that are needed. And so he's doing that, and he's actually performing the way we want. Can we do better? I think we can do better, but it's a total package, and that's why it's going to be hard to get him off the pitch. It's not it's just not the skills. Like, I think Fabio has the skills to do better than him, but I think Arteta is probably looking at the entire package of a player on the pitch, be it the leadership that might be missing. And, and like you said, we all fear that it's going to happen, right? We fear that it's going to be a blow up. And October 1st, I'll be there in the stands.
That's right.
And I might see it. I might see it.
Oh, no, Gary.
Right? And that's this. Think about it. Holding went into a similar game last year as one of our senior players and took the bait. and we paid for it dearly. Right. Right now, the most senior player is going to be Xhaka coming in there. Right. And we don't know if Partey will come back. We know he left. We don't know if he's coming back. Right. So we know Xhaka always comes back. Right. He never goes away and stays away. So that's, if we see it, if we go through that entire match, he doesn't get a yellow, he's learned. Does anybody want to take that bet?
I just want to welcome a new name in the chat box that I've not seen before. Awuslavan Jayabalan. He says, you would be hard pressed to find a better player that fits into Arteta's system and bring the leadership that he does, that doesn't cost 80 million or more. And that's a very good point.
He must
But you don't need, it's the 80 million for it's the 80 million for the leadership. And that's not, we're not paying 80 million for the leadership. We're paying 80 million for the football talent. Yeah. If I told you you're going to get 80 million worth of a football talent, right? If I said you're going to get Haaland level, you'll take it, right? You don't have to pay 80 million for a leader. I don't think anybody's spending that on a leader. That's already there. Right? You get that for free. So that's my thought on that one. But he's doing what we need to do. And like I said, he is not the biggest problem on the squad. It's our depth right now. If we can stay healthy, it won't be a problem. If we get injuries, suspensions in the wrong places, that's where we will have problems. If he blows up, I don't know if he gets more than one opportunity to blow up and come back. The way this team is right now, he shouldn't get a second go around if he blows up again. Not the way this team is going. That would be detrimental to the path that we're going. Right? If he has one of those blow-ups, that can't happen in this squad the way we are right now with the youth that we have on the squad. Nah. I know I've been rambling, but I think Arteta's building something, and you can't. If he blows up, then that's no different than what we saw from Aubameyang to some degree, and not Erdegaard, but Ozil to some degree, and Guendouzi to some degree, right? Because it's just not what Arteta's team's all about.
Yeah. So I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Granit Xhaka moving forward. He's a mainstay in the team. And it's going to be interesting to see where we are in, let's say, another 5 games or so. And let's move on from Granit Xhaka. I think we spent a lot of time there on Granit. Not really much more that we can say. He's like Marmite, isn't he? A little bit. The fact that we have these conversations, and I always think that we never play that divides the fan base, whether it's him or Ozil or some of the others that we've had down the line. There's always a talking point. So moving on, let's have a look at Big Bill Saliba, the young kid who's like a brand new signing that we bought for, what is it, 27 million? And you'd have to think that at today's going rate, if Tony's creeping in there again. If you'd have to think that if someone was going to buy him now, right, they'd be shelling out a lot more than what we bought him for. So I want to start with an outsider's view, and I'm not talking about Kevin Nash or Scott Hall, but our regular man from the lead side of things. It's always good to get an outsider's view, right? You've obviously seen a lot of press now about Big Bill Saliba, and I don't know whether you look at it and feel that it's a lot of overhype, but tell us what you think. Tell us what you think of what you've seen of Bill Saliba, and while you're doing that, I'm just going to go and grab another beer.
Well, by all means, sir. I don't mean to say this with like a degree of disrespect to the community that I'm talking to, but he has displayed excellent qualities and performances. But with respect, he is doing that against the teams you are supposed to be playing well against and dominating and beating and destroying and scoring lots of goals against and not conceding many. And the one team you played against that was realistically a challenge, you lost. So And that's not me being a dick about it. That's the facts. You beat the teams you were supposed to beat, and you lost to the team that was going to provide you a challenge. And he's been incredibly amazing for you thus far. But we've not made it out of October yet. So, you know, we can revisit this in May, and then we can revisit it next May, and then see if you all have the same opinion about how amazing he is.
Let me ask you this, Mr. Tom, right? If you was going to put together a team of the season just based on performances thus far, not what they did last season, not what you think they may do, would Big Bill Saliba have a shout of getting in there?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm not saying he's been poor, like, because he obviously factually hasn't, and Stevie Wonder would be able to tell you that he's played well this season thus far. So, you know, but I just think.
Have you not seen anything that you might think will equip him to bigger challenges? Do you know what I mean?
What I'm actually interested to see is I would be genuinely fascinated to see him in the centre back pairing with Ben White. I would really want to see how that turned out.
And who would you have playing on the right or left, or doesn't it matter?
No, it'd probably be Tomiyasu or someone. But I mean more.
No, I mean no. Instead, no. If they're playing as a two, who would you have as the left centre? You know, who's in Gabriel's place? I mean, I'm. Don't get me wrong. I think a lot of people get caught up on having a left-footed left centre back. Man United did a right of that one for fucking many years. You know, I think some people get too caught up. But I'm just interested whether we had a particular way that pairing would work. No. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Weren't something I really factored into my thinking.
Why did you say that though? Why are you saying I'd like to see him in a pairing with Ben White? What is it? What you don't rate Gabriel or what?
Well, based on the money you invested in Ben White and the time you've invested in Saliba, as well as money, that tells me you see them as your long-term partnership. And I think it'd be more interesting to see it sooner rather than later.
No chance that
can't be true. Think about it. We just spent over 250 million on a striker and a number 9 in the last 5 years, who eventually turned out to be not part of the squad anymore, and not necessarily for only them being,
I'm not the accountant.
But you just brought up the money. You just brought up money, and I'm telling you that the money doesn't always matter, because we've seen them say, you know what, we just wasted what?
Yeah, I know you're big enough.
200, 300 on
just front more money. I know that. I get.
But they've got. But you know what? Gabriel was a bonus, right? Not a bonus, but a surprise when he came in, right? He got an opportunity to play when a player was injured, and he hasn't looked back since. And that's essentially what Arteta wants. He wants those type of players to come in and do that, right? He hasn't relinquished the spot since, and he wasn't even supposed to come in and play. All right. So for me, why would you sit him just because you spent the money? Right? And White has proved that he can play out there as a fullback if needed. All right.
I think this has caused Mikel Arteta big problems, massive problems. I think that he's now in a place where he can't drop Ben White to put in Tomiyasu, but then he can't drop Saliba to accommodate Ben White back in the middle. And I think he's hesitating in making a decision for right back, because I think Tomiyasu, for me, is a far better right back than Ben White. As well as Ben White is doing there, he's not a proper right back. And I think that Mikel Arteta has to make a decision soon on that.
Yeah. Well, I've been calling for rotation since day one, and that would have solved that problem right away, because you would have been rotating them in and out. I know we only got one game a week and stuff like that, but for that reason right there, your players aren't sitting idle on the sidelines. They get to play. Sorry, Alonso.
But to what Tom was talking about, Gabriel, in my opinion, the way he plays quite often, he's more liable to get caught in situations that would either get him in trouble or he gets beat And I think that's where Tom was alluding to with Gabriel, because I believe that a pairing of Ben White and Saliba wouldn't be that bad as far as rotation if Gabriel has a string of bad games, which he's able to do. And he has these brain farts, so to speak, whenever the big games did happen. He loses focus, and teams have scored against him in the past, or he gets red carded.
Yeah, he definitely has been doing that, right? I mean, Gabriel seems to be a walking time bomb in terms of the way he's been playing. He's been taking risks. I don't know. It sounds like Arteta's okay with it because he's been doing it and people have praised him for some of the stuff that he's been doing. But then until he does it, it goes a little too far and he gets himself out of position, and then that creates a problem. So, but it sounds like that's the way the manager's letting him play that because he keeps doing it, right? So, no, I think that's why I wanted White to stay at center back and us to get a fullback, so he wouldn't be in a situation because we need to be able to rotate our center backs, definitely rotate our fullbacks. White can't be the answer in my eyes for both a center back and a fullback. It's got to be one or the other. You know what I mean? That's where he is right now. He has that's why Arteta has problems because he doesn't have, like, Cedric's not the man, and Holding is not the man. So what does he do?
So who's our de facto right back, Gary? Who's our de facto right back, Gary? In your eyes,
it should be Tomiyasu.
Anyone else disagree with that?
Well, there's a caveat to that. If we're playing, if we need to be defensive minded, then Tomiyasu plays. If White doesn't have to go up against a Zaha, for example, then you can use White there because we know that he can do a job, and then you can rest Tomiyasu because he could be injury prone. We think he is based on the last 2 times he's been injured, but that's where I see it being a way for us to use it. But that's why I don't want White playing fullback. So what do you do?
So I want to ask all of you then, who do you think what's our de facto back? Surely with a back four, that shouldn't be just rotated for the sake of having good players. You should have a solid back four, I think, with an understanding with your goalkeeper. And for me, I think that our de facto back four should be Tomiyasu as right back. And I think that on the left back, it should be Tierney over Zinchenko. And it puzzles me how after only a couple of games, that everything that Kieran Tierney can give to us when fit has kind of been overlooked for this new shiny toy. As I like Zinchenko, and it's great that he can cover in a couple of positions, but I don't think he's the better left back. I just don't. The centre back position for me is difficult to pick because you've got 3 really good ones. I think Gabriel Megalegs keeps his position because of that left foot that he's got, and he can score goals. But then we've also got another centre back that can score goals in Big Bill Saliba. So for me, I would go with them as our de facto. That's the de facto back four. And I'd like to hear in the chat box what you guys think about that, because it seems to me that a lot of people feel that our de facto right back is Holding and Zinchenko on the left. Alonso, what's your thoughts on that? Do you think that we should have a back four that we can just rotate, or do you think we should have a solid back four and build from that?
Oh, it's hard back four, and like I was telling the guys,
who is it in your eyes? Who are they?
Tomiyasu, Gabriel Saliba, Ben White, and Kieran Tierney.
Really? You'd put in Ben White and drop Gabriel Megalegs?
Nobody's seen this Ben White Saliba combo to know if it's better or not.
Right. Well, I think. But I want to see it as well. I think defensively, Ben White offers more than what Gabriel Megalegs does. Like I was telling Gary, Gabriel loses his focus a lot of the time against the bigger teams. You saw it with Man United. You saw it with Chelsea last year. You saw it with was it Palace he got sent off, or was it City he got sent off? So there's a lot of things that worry me about Gabriel Magalhaes that he's not mentally ready for these big games. I mean, he can score a goal. Don't get me wrong, but when it comes to big games, he's often not prepared for the big games. Even against Palace, that was not a fault of his own, but he should have done better when Tavares was there. And, I just don't trust him in big games like I do Ben White, I guess.
Mr. Tom, outsider perspective.
Right.
What do you think of our back four, right? You've seen our players. You've seen what's been going on. There's been a lot of fumbling around. Kieran Tierney's had a lot of injury problems. But then again, when we bought Tavares and Kieran Tierney was out, we played Tavares because it was like a needs-must situation. But even when Kieran Tierney came back, I thought it was a little bit humiliating that Tavares continued. It was a little bit like what we've done with when we needed a cover in midfield that time and we skipped El Neni, went straight to Lokonga and didn't work. And we had to go back to the trusted, more reliable thing. But what do you think of our back four? Who should it be?
What I find interesting, or that a comment that got made,
Yeah,
it's not wrong, but a comment I found was interesting was Gabriel's got a goal in him, but that's usually because he's overcompensating to redeem himself because he fucked up. Like the best example.
A centre back scoring on a corner isn't redeeming yourself for your defensive and
but he was redeeming himself for the fact that he was redeeming himself.
Come on, he's just scoring.
He was redeeming himself because he got humiliated by Mitrovic needlessly.
No,
that's the example I'm actually thinking of.
I don't believe that is true.
Whereas
I just believe
Ben White wouldn't have got turned by Mitrovic in the first place to need to be like, I've got to go up top now and make everything right. No, because Ben White would have just got it right in the first place and he'd have put the ball in Rowe's head and not fucked around, and Mitrovic wouldn't have scored in the first place. Bielsa taught him that. Just saying. Solid.
Well, I mean, basically, you're saying is that he's not getting the right training. That's what you just said right there. You just said Arteta, obviously is not training him well, because if that was Bielsa, you would have got you. We might see White do what we're supposed to be done.
If Bielsa trained the Arsenal team, you'd be in for so much fun. I mean, you'd have a couple of heart attacks in your life. But I'm telling you, I'm just saying, you'd love it. You'd be sitting there going, what is this attacking football that I'm not used to seeing since the Wenger days? No, I'm just...
Well, I think a lot of people would be on your side about that, is that we lack that side. But I think we've shown it, though. We have it in us. And, we're getting players in there.
You're wrong. Sorry.
Hang on, here's a question from Steve Denham. He says, would any of you like to see Arsenal play with 3 centre-backs? We play that way when Ben White makes the third, when our left-back moves upfield or into midfield. Gary, 3 at the back.
Arteta has shown he doesn't want to do that, so I'm going by what
do you want to do it?
I wanted to do it earlier until Arteta got the players that he wanted, because he doesn't want to play 3 at the back. He doesn't want to do that. He is a clone of Pep. So that's what he's going to do, right? He's got a blueprint already, and that's what he's going to stick to. So while we were still trying to get all of our players in place, I would have liked to see a back 3. I think we want, I remember saying, it'd be nice to go in the back 3 until we get all the players we need, and then we can start forming that back 4 that he wants. And I think now we've got the players now. It's just a matter of, do we have enough of them? But I think he wants a back 4, so I can only go by what the man show me his cards. We're going to be playing a back 4, and it doesn't even matter if we have injuries. He still wants to play a back 4, right? We've had injuries, and he said, "Nah, we'll still play. We'll play Tavares," right? That's where he got to. We'll still play Tavares, even though he's not defensively aware. Right, we talked about Gabriel not being aware. Tavares is even worse, right? As far as his defensive awareness, just not good. So, no, I don't see a back 3.
Anyone else want to go in with the back 3?
You're not a fan of the back three, then? I'm guessing.
No,
No, me
our
neither.
manager's not a fan, so I'm just going to go with that.
Anyone else? Alonso?
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna play a back three, we're gonna need proper players in those positions. And I remember when Unai Emery played in back three a little bit, it was Mikel Arteta playing on left wing, and it was Millering playing the right wing back. So you have to have players that can do the jobs of a wing back does, and right now we don't have that. So I think the way Gary sees is that Arteta won't play back three, so why even mess with that idea? But I think he played a back three against Jolic in Europe when he had Marquinhos playing right wing back. That worked because it shows that Marquinhos is very versatile in that sense. So I wouldn't mind it, but it has to work with the right players.
Okay. Right, moving on now. There was a player who made his debut for Arsenal, a mere babe, still in his nappies. Apparently, his mother thought that he was around his friend's house doing homework, but he wasn't. He was on the bench for Arsenal. Ethan Nwaneri. I might have crucified that name there, Ethan. But been a lot of discussion about him during the week. And there's been a lot of people, I've been hearing people on Talk Sport, various pundits and ex-players, some saying that, if you're of the age, then you should be playing, or some saying that it was disrespectful and harming a young player in their development. Personally, before I go around the panel, for me, I think it's quite simple. There's no rule in the rule book that says that you can't field a player at 15. So we've done nothing wrong. If it's a problem, then you petition the FA and you get them to change the rules. So let's have a look at the debut of Ethan Nwaneri. Hardly touched the ball, but it's the youngest debut ever in the Premier League. What's your thoughts on this, Gary?
Well, initially, my thought was, why? Why is he gonna, get that opportunity? What about Sosa and Wright? Is it? I forgot the other player's name.
There's a Hutchinson. Does Hutchinson, right?
No, there was two players. There were two players on the bench, both 17. Both have been on they've been on the bench before. They haven't seen any minutes. Why didn't they get in? And my understanding is that the reason why they brought in Ethan is because he's up for a scholarship or something like that. So to kind of like dangle, the carrot, here, we'll take you through we'll take you through what it's like to be a first teamer. And if we have an opportunity, we'll put you on a pitch. That's what they did. So I kind of feel like that's what, so I don't think it was as much because he earned it, because I think the other players probably earned it too if they got to be on the bench multiple times. And so it's to keep them, really. It's a dangle that carrot. Can I just answer, like the Misfit was asking me whether I want the back three or back five or four. Personally, I don't care because as long as we have the players to fit the whatever style we want to play, that's really what I care about. So I kind of feel like I don't care. I understand the difference between the two, but I just don't think, for me, it doesn't matter. It's whatever the manager's comfortable with and wants to implement. So I don't care. But yeah, no, I don't think it was. I don't think it was football reasons as much as it's we want to keep you. So here's a little introduction to life as an Arsenal first teamer.
I mean, yeah, as I understand it, this is a kid that at some point is going to be professional papers that will need to be signed. And there are a lot of clubs circling. I mean, obviously, a lot of these big clubs all have their scouts. Although we don't know of this kid, they do. He obviously has a lot of talent and a lot of promise. And he could be, plucked away from us in much in the same way that we plucked Cesc Fabregas away from Barcelona. So I suppose this is Arsenal's way of showing a young kid that there is a pathway into the first team. and he's a carrot, he's a nugget. He literally went on for minutes. So if this is their card to try and keep a real big young prospect, then I understand it. Alonso?
Yeah, I mean, when he first came on, I was kind of surprised as well. I didn't have no issue with Arteta bringing him on the pitch, but there's definitely some kind of loophole behind it. And he does get it if he does get a scholarship for Arteta. It kind of shows you that if you work hard, your things can come true. And I remember Danny had mentioned Hutchinson. Anyway, I kind of just seen it didn't work out, but now he's at Chelsea, so whatever, Anyway, but yeah, I think Ethan has a good future at Arsenal. He decides to stay, and yeah, he looks pretty fit. So it's a gamble, of course, but of course you can get negative publicity as well. So yeah, I think that Arsenal are in a position where they're top of the league, and they had the game in hand, and they brought this youngster in. And, I had no issue with it. I think that it was maybe not the smartest of moves, but they went on with it, and it worked out. I guess So I don't have no issue with it at all.
So what about you, Mr. Tom? Arrogance or a storm in a teacup?
You don't want to know what I think about this 15-year-old. I'm going to tell you what I know about this 15-year-old. I've got some Ethan Nwaneri facts for you. All right.
Good. And before you go into that, I think it's fair to say, even as an Arsenal supporter, I never even knew the kid walked the earth until when I went to look at the lineup thing on my phone, and and you got like the substitutes. I looked down the substitutes, and you have their kit number and their name. It just said 83, and then there was no name. I was just like, well, who the fuck's number 83? Was it fucking Claude Rains? David McCallum? So I don't think anybody knew about this guy. So if you've got any inside information, we're all ears.
Well, I wouldn't call it inside information as such, just more pointless things I found out. Anyway,
right, okay.
Do you know he's only...
If you bother to look on Google, because I haven't, we're all ears.
Yeah. Do you know he's 6 months older than the iPhone? All right. And the week before he was born, Arsenal lost to an Everton team that had Mikel Arteta in it.
Wow.
Yeah. just let you know that. Just let you know. And
nonsense, right? Nonsense? Any more nonsense?
Some fun facts.
Yeah,
there.
basically.
I have a good fact that I found out this week, and it's changing the subject a little bit, but we are going to be talking about the North London derby pretty soon. And the fact that I learned was that since leaving Tottenham, right, the only time that Gareth Bale hasn't won a trophy in a season was the season that he went back to Tottenham. So I thought that was...
But you can take the player out of Spurs.
You can. You can, Mr. Tom. You can.
And then when he goes back to being Spursy.
Yeah.
That's the moral of the story, right? So,
but going back to this, go on.
No, I was going to say, we should all. I'm going to make us all feel old and upset. We should all be looking forward to the year 2037 when he'll be in his prime.
Exactly. And hopefully he'll be doing it at Arsenal.
He'll be 30, Alonso. So, and I will be a lot older than 30. So,
But another way of looking at it, we've seen young players come onto the scene and forge a future for themselves. I always remember Wayne Rooney, right? And he scored that goal and it was against us. And how old was he? What was he? 15 and a half, almost 16, something like that. So if he's got it, he's got it. I'm sure that they know what they're doing with him. Anyway, moving on. Before we get to the North London derby, let's talk about Gabriel Jesus and his 4 yellow cards, because I think it's going to be really difficult for Gabriel Jesus to knock another booking in the North London derby. You see that he's a player that puts it about. He's not scared to get in amongst the swarm of the opposition and trying to wriggle out with the ball. So if he's going to get a yellow card, then he's going to miss the Liverpool game. So how worried are you about this, Gary? Are you just taking it a game at a time, or have you got an eye forward with some kind of solution?
I would be praying upon a star if I thought he's not going to get a yellow October 1st. So I think we just need to get the win, and then we'll see where we stand after that. Because I think for me, I'd rather come out and win that one than not play like that. He gets the yellow, and we miss out on Liverpool as well. So let's get the win. If he has to take a yellow, he has to, and that's it's a game where we probably will need him to do that. So. I think he's been hard pressed by, but I think he also thought he was wearing a light blue shirt and not a red shirt, because we know that the light blue shirt, they just look away multiple times before they even think about even feeling around for the yellow card. So hopefully he's learned that, and after the first, second, third time, that fourth one I think was really silly. That was a really silly yellow. It may not have been a yellow because of, but it was just not necessary. In the 90th minute he gets a yellow? He didn't need to do that. So I think that might be a little bit of naivety there, going in there and being a little naive in terms of what he was doing there. But he's going to have to play. So, yeah, I think a yellow's coming, but he can have we just went through what would have been a perfect game minus that yellow card, right? So we're going to need it again. We're going to need it at least the next two Premier League matches, right? We need to be near perfect, because that's where we've been. We've been like good performance, loss. No. We're going to need a good performance, win in these games.
I just don't see how he gets through a North London derby without picking up another yellow. I just don't see it happening. So it's a shame, right? Because I think that jumping ahead a little bit and just keeping one eye on Liverpool, if there's ever a good time to play them, it's sort of around about now. They're not looking so unbeatable at the moment. You got any worries about this, Alonso?
I think
can Eddie just slip straight in and take care of business?
Well, that's asking a bit too much, Dan. The only way this can work is if we have beaten Spurs by maybe 3 goals, and Jesus hasn't gotten a yellow card by this point, and we sub him off for Nketiah in the final maybe 20 minutes at the game. But other than that, God, that's tough, because we don't know.
If you're the manager of Tottenham, do you tell your players to make sure that Gabriel gets the yellow? Because you're looking at the table, you're looking at competition, you're shaking your head, Mr. Tom. You don't do that?
No, I've got a better plan for this. I've mapped it out. Don't worry. Have you say Alonso, and then I'll give my nonsense.
You're shaking your head. So do you think that, Alonso? Do you think that if you're the manager and you see what's happening, you think, well, yeah, we want him to drop points at Liverpool, it could be good for us, right? And if he's their main threat, let's make sure that he does get that yellow. Is that a conversation that doesn't happen?
It will happen.
An evil bastard.
It will happen, but of course, Spurs will always stay Spursy, right? And they're always been put on that. So, even because Harry Kane could do it on the other end as well. He could easily dive like he always does and get carded, which he probably won't, but still probably will. And it's tough to say, really, because he was a shoes, those yellow cards would never ever happen. He's a striker. He's doing getting carded. That's Granit Xhaka's job, to get carded. So my point being is that, it's a game, because we're going to need him against Liverpool, considering how they've been this year. So it's on edgy waters right now, and we'll hope for the best and get the win at Tottenham. Just get out of there, and we'll see what happens. But my best bet is that we had a game at hand enough to where we could sub him off at the 70th minute and put Nketiah on. Maybe Eddie Nketiah can score 2 goals. and we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I mean, if we can get to a scenario where we're like a couple of goals ahead and we can make a switch, I mean, the football gods are smiling on us. But Mr. Tom, I understand that you have a scenario that we may not have thought of.
I'm glad you asked, Stan. I'll work this out. All right.
Oh no. No, you supposed that's not a weekday thing.
That's a special
How dare
occasion.
you?
I'm in the Arsenal fan circle. Just the one. I haven't got both of them. All right. That's right, Stan. There is a second one. Anyway, I understand you're playing Tottenham on the first, right? But you don't want to get a yellow card against Tottenham on the first. What you actually want is you want him to roll over and collect his yellow card on the. Let me look at my dates. On the 9th, it's Liverpool, right? So when he goes around and gets his card on the 9th, and then boom, 5. 1 game ban. Who's the next game after Liverpool? Oh, what coincidence! You're going to Ellen Road against Leeds United.
oh no.
Arsenal without Gabriel Jesus at Leeds United. Oh, yes, please, matron. Lovely, love it, fantastic, delicious. Make it happen, sir.
Oh
That won't help you. You probably won't even make it to the show because you'll be so distraught. So it's not going to help you. You're still going to be.
It'll help him. It will help him because he won't get batteries thrown at him when he scores.
Yeah.
You saw what happened last year. Your players made the silly decision to celebrate in front of our fans and think we were going to throw shit at them. Oh, we got throw shit at him. You're lucky you didn't get a sink thrown at him.
What do you think of Gabriel Jesus' start in a new shirt, Mr. Tom, as an outsider viewing in?
I would argue his start. It's impressive, but the only thing that I think has made it more low-key is because there's a player in another team who's had an even better start with respect to Mr. Haaland. But I think there would be more light shone on Jesus' performances.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not like he's gone completely under the radar. It's not the case. I mean, he is obviously.
But Haaland overshadows everything, right? It's just the way it is.
Well, yeah. Haaland scored like 11 goals in like what? I don't even know how many games, but
6 games, 7
so
games.
that has made everyone else look shit by comparison. And I'm not saying Jesus looks shit. That's obviously not the case. But my point just being that he is so far ahead of everyone else in numbers, goal scoring numbers, that you sit there and go, yeah, Jesus has been good. But look what this guy did. Pointer. Over. That guy.
And Jesus he's left some goals out there. So, if he had started it perfectly, he'd probably be up there in terms of, who's doing what. So it's not like he doesn't have.
It starts good.
Yep.
If a Leeds player had those numbers, I'd be fucking thrilled. Pardon my language.
Well, he's like the second. I think he's like second or third in whatever the goal contributions. For in the Premier League. So he's doing good, and that's what we've needed. So Haaland is just adding on top, right? He's like a cherry on top of what they already had. So it's a really big cherry.
It'd probably be third if Rodrigo hadn't got injured. Allegedly.
Is that what it is? Yeah, okay.
It must have been. We'll pretend that. We'll pretend that anyway.
Yeah.
No, seriously. In all, like you don't need me to tell you that your main striker has had a good start to the season. You know he's had a good start to the season. The table and all the statistics reflect that he's had a good start to the season, right? You know that. You know that, Alonso. You know these things. I don't need to tell you these things, but I'm going to tell you anyway. He's had a good start. His mum would be proud of him.
Okay. Let's move on to the big one then.
Well, it's Dad, though. Dads always tend to want more.
The North London Derby. Gary, you're going to that, aren't you? You're meeting up with a few other podcasters from around the American way. So while I go and get another beer, why don't you tell us about your schedule, who you're meeting up with, what you're doing, and am I right in saying that this is your first NL derby, North London derby? Am I right?
My first Arsenal match. So yes,
Oh,
everything will be.
okay. Oh, okay.
I've seen them play I've seen them play over here in the States in like one of the preseason matchups, but not. This will be my first Arsenal match. So
Okay.
and North London derby and
Where are you
home
sitting?
match.
Do you know where you're sitting yet in the
Don't know.
stadium?
Don't know.
Doesn't matter, does it? You're there.
Doesn't matter. As long as I'm in the stadium, I'll be happy. So next, I guess it's next Saturday or a week from Saturday, I will be in London, flying out midweek. Anyways, I'll be there early and meeting up with Lolo and Mark from On the Stoop with Lolo. We're gonna go North London Derby, and then the next day we're actually gonna go up to Ellen Road and see a match there as well. So busy weekend. Looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it. That's all I can keep saying. I'm just looking forward to it. I've driven by, the Emirates like years ago when I went to visit my dad, who's still there. But I'll get to actually stand in front of it and even take pictures in front of it and all of that stuff. So looking forward to that. So it should be a big game. I get to see it live, so I'm looking forward to that.
I've been to the Emirates.
Oh, you have? Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Tom, right? As way as derbies go, how big do you think the North London derby is from an outside perspective?
It's a big game, obviously. It's helped by the fact that both teams are always in the Premier. You're always in the same division, so you always play each other. So it's continuous. It's never broken up by one of you being in I was going to say in doldrums. Arguably, usually one of you are in the doldrums for the standards you set. But
do you think it's up there with the old firm?
No. No. Sorry. Comparatively, yes, but not in the context of. I don't go into a North London derby thinking that I'm going to be watching on the news after that there's been a massive punch up, or like it's very much a footballing rivalry. Like I could be proven wrong, and you go, oh, in 2006 there was a fire or something like that. But generally speaking, it doesn't come across to me as that dangerous between fans. It's more of a, I hate you, but I hate you for the first minute to the last minute, and then we're all going home. And that's it. But in footballing terms, yeah. I can see why you want to beat the shit out of them twice a year. And vice versa.
Alonso, the starting lineup, is there anything that you want to change for the starting lineup for this one? Or, what do you want to see going into this one, player-wise?
Right.
I mean, okay, example, Odegaard is now fit to play. Does he just go straight back in? I mean, he's the captain. Does he go straight back in?
Of course he does. It's a shame, but it's true. I think, considering the North London derby, I think we have a better bench than they do. If we decide to put in last-minute subs, I think we're better equipped in that sense. As far as starting lineup, that's iffy because this is where I go to Tomiyasu ahead of Man White. That's tough because that's an issue. I think because if you look about the first derby, we basically did pretty bad, and I think we did the same exact game in the first game last year than we did this year. I think Tomiyasu was key in that game as well. With that said, I will put Tomiyasu in and move Ben White to partner up with Saliba.
Gary, you're shaking your head, man. What's up?
White's first match as a tandem with Saliba can't be in the North London Derby. Not after not having played it at all this season. It makes no sense to me to do that. And like, what would be our next biggest game? All right, and not only that, but it's a game we have to win. That's too much of a risk for me to make that maneuver. If they had played before, and that's just why I wanted rotation. If you had rotation, then you would know how they play together, if it's going to work, and all that kind of stuff. So we shouldn't, when we won the first 2 or 3 matches, everybody said, should we change the lineup? And it was like, no, we have our 11. Let's just stick with it. I think we're in the same situation here. Our back 4, go with it. And Tomiyasu was always probably he was always going to be a player that once he was healthy was going to come in. Tierney and Zinchenko, between the two, you gain, you lose in different ways there. So, and Tierney may not, he just went away. So we'll see if he comes back healthy and all that kind of stuff. So, no, I wouldn't take Gabriel and Saliba and separate them right now. Not for this match.
How about Liverpool then, Gary?
Huh?
How about Liverpool, for example?
I don't think it's something you could. That's why I wanted rotation before, so you would have those answers. I wouldn't test it in 2 of our biggest games back to back. No. It's just too much of a risk for me. Too much of a risk. Like
we paint ourselves into a corner, innit? It's like, it ain't broke. Why fix it now?
Yeah.
Sorry, Gary, you were saying?
No, I'm saying it's just a risk to do it right now. And it will, if there are any quirks that need to be worked out, you don't want to be figuring that out against that team. All right. It's not like their front 3 isn't really potent. So the last thing you want to do is you don't want to give them any opportunity to find a loophole in the pairing that you have there or in the back line. And then you're down a goal or 2 before you figure it out.
Who are you starting? Hang on, 1 minute, Alonso. Who are you starting in the fullback positions with everybody fit, Gary?
Tomiyasu, it could be Gabriel and Saliba and Tierney, I guess, because Zinchenko, we don't know if he's going to come back, right?
But if he was fit,
I still think Tierney. I mean, I think when we're playing these types of teams, we should go defensively with our fullbacks, and Tomiyasu and Tierney are, for me, more defensive-minded and better suited for what we want to do. And this is why we got the depth, is so that we can have them healthy going into these matches. And if they are the healthier of the 2, then let's go with that. So, yeah. I don't think we're going to lose the game because we have defensive fullbacks in there. You know what I mean? I think we can lose it if we have more offensive that, would take off down the field and then not be able to defend when we need them to. So that's my thinking there.
What about yourself, Alonso, when it comes to the fullback positions for the North London Derby, if everybody's fit?
I mean, it'll be hard to take off Ben White as right back, but I would prefer Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney. I think because they have experience as well. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think they have experience of playing Tottenham before. And when we lost to them last spring, we didn't have a full team because Ben White was out. I believe Kieran Tierney was also out, as well as Partey. So I think that we're hopefully back healthy again. October 1st, and where injuries won't be an issue. So I would start Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney. Right now, that's our best fullbacks when healthy. So, like I said, I'm concerned about Gabriel and his focus in his big games because they're back-to-back games, and I would not be surprised if he gets a card for even 2 back-to-back games. So that's not only worry is Gabriel. Thanks.
If anybody's got any questions in the chat, now's the time to get them in because we're on that home straight now. Mr. Tom, how do you think this North London derby is going to go? Do you think it's going to be tight, or do you think that there's a clear winner?
No, I think it's going to be tight, but you have to get points, because you're getting into the situation now where you really run the risk of being labelled as a team that can't beat the Big Six, the other five of the Big Six, because especially now you're playing two of them in sequence, you don't end up in this situation where you beat everyone else except for your rival teams.
But here, 1 minute, hold that thought, because I've always felt that leading up to Mikel Arteta taking over, and even in the first part of Mikel Arteta being the manager, I've always felt that the Arsenal's problem was the opposite, whereby we would give a good showing against the so-called stronger
I
teams,
understand.
and then not be able to take care of business and drop points against Southamptons and the Brightons and the West Bromwich Albions, and you know what I'm saying? So
exactly.
If we've got that, if we've rectified that, does that not put us in good standing, or have we flipped the script to where we've gone the other way now? We can take care of the smaller teams, but we can't deal with the bigger teams.
I understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. However, you've got to look for the perspective of that's because you've played them in sequence, so you're running the gambit of, or the gauntlet of, we're better than you, we're better than you, we're better than you, better than you, and then you're playing two teams where if you get nothing, your confidence is going to be shot, and then you've got to start trying to beat teams you should be beating, knowing you didn't beat the teams that are your actual rivals, which makes it significantly more difficult, and is probably why in the past you didn't get the results against the teams you thought you should have.
If you think about it,
we're all talking, Gary, like you're definitely now going to beat those teams every week, and football don't work like that.
No, but what I do want to see, and what I think we are seeing, is some progression, that we are getting better at this football thing, right? We had a really poor showing at Old Trafford, right? Came back against Brentford and basically had what looked like a perfect match in my eyes. And if we're showing improvements, advancements in the way that we play, then yes, we're not going to just have good performances against the top six. We're going to get points this time. Like you said, we're going to get points. And that's going to be the goal, is to have a good performance that actually you can say, look, here, I got points as well out of this thing. And the only way to do that is to, actually play well.
Sorry, I'm listening, Gary. I've read we always beat United, Chelsea, and Tottenham. Well, I don't know what I was watching the other week, because you didn't beat United. So what are you talking about?
Who said that?
Don Juan.
I don't know.
So what are you talking about, sir?
No. We okay. Here, we have beaten them, right?
Except that one.
Except
that one.
Yeah.
No,
last year you beat United and Chelsea. And I understand that, fine.
Yep.
But you didn't beat them last month.
Yeah. No, I don't.
I think. Hang on. Am I right in saying then that you're worried it's gone the other way? Whereas I mentioned that our biggest problem in the past was not picking up the points against the little teams, having a good showing against the big teams. You're worried now that we've inverted it. We're going along. You know what I mean? We're running around kicking the shit out of little teams.
You've only currently inverted it, because you now need to rely on that continuing. Football don't work like that.
Because it's a different group of personnel now, right? That was doing it before. So now we have to see, have we maintained being able to hold our own against the big teams? We've not been tested yet. We've had some good matches this season, and I'm not going to say we've played bollocks against the bollocks, because no one's bollocks in this league. We're playing good football, but I think as Arsenal supporters, I think we're always saying it. The next games are really important. Those next games, it's always the same. But Tottenham and Liverpool are going to be a big test, Gary.
No, for sure, and when we looked, everybody looked at the schedule, and the first thing we saw is October 1st. And then you looked at the games preceding that, going after that, and you're like, crap, how in the world are we going to get through that, right? Based on what we've seen in the past. That's a very tough hill to climb, right? We come out now, we're like, well, we have to do exactly what we did. We have where we are right now. minus the way we played against United. We needed
I'm
to play
not
like that going
sorry.
in. No, we needed to play like that because I believe that if we did that going into October, we're better prepared to actually go in there and perform and get what we want out of that month of October. Because it's not necessarily that we're playing the Big Six; it's just that month is really tough in general. Now on top of that,
That's
we're
not what I
playing
said.
teams that. No, I'm just saying. I don't know what you were. I don't actually know what you were saying. But what I'm
Know what I
saying is
said?
that's why. But what I'm saying is that we're talking about that game is crucial because it could start the ball rolling in the wrong direction if we let it roll into the next game, which is what we've done in the past. But like I said, the way we responded to the Man United game, it shows a little bit of it shows progress, and we need to see that going into this match where we've got 2 weeks off to prepare, and hopefully everybody's healthy, and we go into that match, and you see us continue to show what we kind of did in the Brentford match. So,
Mr. Tom?
Well, thank you. I'd like to respond to this comment section, if you don't mind, gentlemen. I never actually said anything about last year. I said if you don't get anything in the next 2 weeks when football returns, then you will be 0 for 3 against the Big Six, which will then put you in the situation where you need to then beat everyone else, which is unlikely because football doesn't work like that. That's what I actually said. I know what I fucking said. Anyway, yeah, so...
No, I feel you. I hear what you're saying.
Don't get me wrong. If you win the title, and you... Right, sorry, I'll start again. If you beat everyone other than the Big Six, you'll probably win the title. Because that's a lot of points. However, again, who in football beats everyone we got outside of the Big Six? Doesn't happen. Well, maybe Man City have done it, I don't know. But just my point being is you can't, if you then rely on that, you're in trouble. But it depends on what you think you're going for. Like, will you get the top 4? Yeah, probably. But your ambitions are surely a bit higher than that at the moment, right?
Well, I mean, we should. The expectation is that we win all those games against the bottom 14, right? That's where we want. If we're talking about being a top 4 team, bottom 14's got to be like guaranteed wins, because the way we've been playing, continue to play like that. On our bad day, we're going to get draws, right? But we're going to get wins most of the time. So that's what the expectation should be based on what where you want to be and the way you've been playing. So based on the way we've been playing so far this season, you come into North London Derby, you're at home. Probably going to hopefully be at full strength. You should have the best opportunity to get all the points. If your goal is top 4, all right, and if you look like a top 4 team, these are the ones you got to win.
That is your goal, right?
Yep.
Despite your start, your goal's top 4, isn't it?
Yep.
Of course.
Yeah.
That the new catchphrase. I know what I said. I like it.
Alonso, anything else you would like to add on about the North London Derby?
Of course, it's a big game, and here in the States, or North America rather, we kind of lose out because we have to wake up like it's just like in the morning to watch the game, and it's always a tough game to wake up to. It's almost like Christmas time, right? Because you gotta get ready early, but you can't because you're too excited to watch the game, so you just wait it out, and then you're just too excited. But yeah, every time I've been an Arsenal fan, I've been excited to look forward to this game, no matter how bad we are, no matter how good we are. It's a big game, and it's bragging rights, of course. I remember my first game was in 2009 when I first started watching Arsenal, and we lost in a late goal by Nedley, the captain, whatever. But it was a lucky goal and shouldn't have counted, of course. But nevertheless, it was just a good game, and It's always a good game to look forward to, and whatever up for it, it's up to Arsenal. But the fans, you always come out and support the team, and it's just all about. No matter how many cups of coffee you have during the game, it's about watching the game, and like I said, it's like Christmas time. And it seems like when we lose, it's like the cups of cold that you got for Christmas when we lose, right? So, nevertheless, it's also a big game because we're top of the league, and we want to give that up because we've done good so far, good enough rather, to stay up top. So, if we lose, it would sting a little bit, and then we play Liverpool, which is also a tough game. So. It's just a tough senior games, They would test Arsenal's will.
So, what's your score prediction, Alonso?
Wow. I think it'd be 3-2 to Arsenal.
3-2 to Arsenal. That's what I was going to go for. Gary? What's your score prediction?
2-1 Arsenal.
2 Arsenal. Everyone put your score predictions in the chat box, please. Mr. Tom, what do you think?
I think it's going to be close. It will be 48-44 to Arsenal.
Very close indeed. 2-0 Arsenal, says BX.
It's not rugby,
Yeah, it's something. What does the dog think the score be, Gary?
I don't know what he's whining about.
So,
I thought he was trying to tell us.
Final words, and then we're out of here. We've got a tailwind behind us tonight, so we're coming in for landing a little bit early. Gary, what's your final words, mate?
Yeah, like I said, I guess it's we have no football, so hope everybody can stay healthy. I want them to be back next weekend when we play. I don't know if any of you guys have watched any of the football. I have not, but I'm looking forward to seeing if we looking forward to the game. As I keep saying, it was a good talk today. I definitely enjoyed it. Stan, you did good hosting. Everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. Alonso and Mr. Tom, thanks for being on here. And we will do this again on Sunday. So look forward to that.
They'll never let me back. They'll never let me back, Gary. This will be the last time you see me on the fan circle.
Oh, well, the fact that you brought out that hand disappoints me.
What, I didn't bring both out? Sorry, Alonso. Do you think? I mean, sorry, Stan, taking your job. Sorry.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right, Mr. Tom. Alonso, your final words, sir.
I'm sorry.
Right. Tomorrow's a big match with England and Italy. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to see how Ramsdale and Xhaka do ahead of the World Cup. Kind of sad that Ben White didn't make it, but hopefully we'll get a knock to Maguire and he'll get in. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the weekend to how the rest of the countries do. USA plays Japan tomorrow morning, so we'll see what happens with that. Anyway, so yeah, I'm looking forward to the lead up to the Northern Derby, so you can make them out of it and go from there. But yeah, this will be a good weekend for some England football, and looking forward to it.
Okay, Mr. Tom, before we go.
Thank you to everyone that supports the show and has tolerated a non-Arsenal supporter clogging up your Thursday evening with nonsense. And it is nonsense, let's be honest. I've got a PhD in nonsense. And sorry, what's that, Ray? Sorry, I think I lost it. I missed a bit. But anyway, yeah.
You're gonna get this channel.
I've done worse with the stick than sniff it. Tell you. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. I just like to try to make Stan laugh. So it's my one goal in life. But,
I'm not laughing with you, Mr. Tom. Anyway, look, on that note, I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody that's tuned in tonight of the Arsenal Fan Circle. We've got a bit of an interlull, as you know, with the international games coming up. So I'm not sure what the schedule will be. I'm not sure what's happening for Sunday, whether Ray is back from his holidays or not. But obviously, you'll be informed by all of the usual channels. Thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat box. And I'm sure that we will probably convene sometime between now and the North London derby. So that all that is left for me to say is up the Gunners and have a good week, everybody.